It's a P80 update. Flagging myself here. Alright. So pretty much over the past, let's say, 8 months, I've been taking this P80 to the range, discovering problems with it. Most of them got discovered within the first 2 or 3 range trips, so they've been solved for quite some time. Go ahead and clear it. Make sure this is in range. All right, let me zoom out a little bit. All right. So pretty much, I built this thing back in April when they said they were gonna ban P80s, and a couple of the problems I ran into were mostly to do with the parts that came with the kit. I got the kit from, I think, P80lower.com, and it was like $750, and a lot of the parts were just aftermarket, not OEM parts. So I had to go through and kind of like figure out what wasn't working and replace it with OEM parts. One of the first things I replaced was the recoil spring that came with the kit. It was horrible. It was gritty. It didn't reset the trigger all the time. It made the gun fail to cycle. And so I got an OEM one from Glock store. And I replaced also the safety plunger here with an OEM one as well. The striker and all the striker assembly that's in the slide, that's still the same stuff that came with the kit. That works pretty good. The barrel as well, that came with the kit. I haven't replaced that yet. With the barrel being as short as it is, it's probably not going to be any more accurate if I buy an OEM one. So I haven't bothered to replace it. I went ahead and polished the feed ramp there probably like 6 months ago, and that helped with a lot of the feeding issues that I was having. As far as the frame, I got it pretty right with the rails. I didn't really have to go back and grind anything off of them. The channel here, again, I did that pretty decently for my first time. I didn't have any problems with that or the recoil spring catching any part of the channel. The lighting's kind of bad. You can't really see it very well. I'll try and put a picture, like a high definition picture of it, so you can see it better. I went through and I replaced the ejector with a Gen 4 ejector for more, what's the term, accurate ejection. So it's more at a 90-degree angle now. I also polished all the parts, the rails, the cruciform here, polished the ejector and the claw. I polished all that stuff. I replaced the connector with a 4.5 pound OEM connector and a 6 pound trigger spring as well. Both of those parts are from glockstore.com. And so far I've put about 800 rounds through it or so. The first 200 were pretty gruesome. It was pretty much a single action pistol for the first 200 rounds. I also replaced the trigger housing pin with a titanium one. The reason for that is all the polymer ones kept snapping in half for some reason. I replaced 2 polymer ones and I was sick of replacing them. So I just went on eBay and I found a titanium one for like $10. And I've probably put 300 or 400 rounds through it and it hasn't broken or bent or anything. So that fixed that issue as well. Another thing I noticed is that it's really hard to find holsters for P80s. What I actually ended up doing was buying a cheap $25 holster from Amazon, and it wouldn't fit. And so I just took a X-Acto knife and cut this part out because I noticed that the part that wasn't fitting was the trigger guard here. It was too wide for this. And so I just X-Acto knifed it. And I'm gonna put it back together so I can show you that it fits. And I got it to fit by just cutting that out. As you can see, it kind of still stretches this a little bit, but it fits and it's got good retention. So just know if you're trying to get a holster for it, the options are very limited. I've also found that using any magazine that isn't a Glock mag usually doesn't work out very well. The only magazines I've had luck with are the OEM ones. So right here I've got a OD green stick, 33 rounder, an OEM 10 rounder. The stick. And this is actually a Glock 17 magazine that I put a eBay 3D printed sleeve on. And what that does is it pretty much turns it into a Glock 19X, which I prefer, and this is how I usually have the gun sit. The only time I'll put a 10 rounder or the stick in is if I'm at the range, or if I'm going out to the mailbox or something and I just want a gun to put in my pocket. I'll usually put the 10 rounder so I can put this gun in my pocket. But yeah, I highly suggest if you have a P80 or even a stock Glock 26 to go out and get one of these sleeves on eBay. They're only like $9 and they're awesome. They completely, it gives you so much better handle of the gun and you can grip it a lot better. It's kind of like a ghetto Glock 19X. Let's see. I have some cheap night sights on there. These are I'm not remembering what the company was, but they were super cheap. They were only like $60 or $70. I actually think that they were True Glow sights. They do not work very well as night sights, but they're fine for just daytime usage. But yeah, I would not suggest getting these if you genuinely want to use them at night. I guess we'll talk about the wear now. I'm gonna go ahead and clear it again. It's clear. As far as like wear goes, there's not much wear. I think the most worn part of this is right here in the slide next to this. I don't know if that's I wouldn't call it a feed ramp, but this does pick up a round off the magazine. There's some wear there, and up here as well in front of this safety plunger there's a bit of wear from the claw. Other than that, the wear is very minimal. I'm not very gentle or kind to my guns. I see them as tools, and I use them as tools. I do not baby them whatsoever. So this is held up pretty well. There's a couple of scuffs there. That's probably just for me dropping it on the table or something when I'm at the range, or even here. One little nick there. Now the barrel, it was nitrided like the slide. I didn't really like the nitride one because it was already coming off pretty significantly only after a few hundred rounds, and so I ended up taking some 800 grit sandpaper and just trying to like rub off all the nitride. Now it's got more of a battle worn look to it. I prefer that. I like the way that looks. The trigger is a lot nicer after I put that 4.5 pound trigger. After I put that 4.5 pound trigger in there, the reset's really nice. Uh-oh, what did I just do? Of course, when I'm making a video, it wants to act funny. Alright, there we go. The trigger is really nice. The reset's good. Very crisp. Very nice. Now, for $750 for a Glock Gen 3 clone, it's kind of steep to me when you could just go to the store and buy a Gen 3 Glock 26 for like $500. If you just want to learn how to put together a gun and learn how to make it work if it's not working, it can be a very valuable tool as far as education goes. Without that aspect, like if you're already familiar with firearms and you just want something that works out the box, I probably wouldn't suggest getting one of these, just because of the amount of time and effort it took for me to get it to run. Now I will say, if you do go and want to build one of these, just buy all OEM internals. Don't even try and save a few bucks on the cheap aftermarket stuff. The only reason I use the aftermarket stuff is because it came with the kit and it was so expensive. I thought that it was OEM parts, but it wasn't. With that whole ban thing that they had going on and still have going on, they were taking advantage and gouging people pretty significantly, me included. This is a $450 kit 2 or 3 years ago that I paid $750 for, which is just ridiculous. I do not shoot this very much often anymore because I have a Glock 22 now that I shoot a lot, and I'll probably do a couple of reviews on that. It's a Gen 5. So this is kind of taking the back burner because usually I like to get good with a gun instead of just jumping from Glock 26 to Glock 22 to Glock 17 to a Ruger American or whatever it may be. I like to focus on one so you know that gun in and out and how it shoots. So as for this, it is kind of taking a back seat. If 40 cal goes up anymore as far as price, I'll probably end up switching back to this gun just because 9mm is cheaper. I've found that a lot of the ammo runs through this gun really well. I've used 147 grain subsonic ammo. I've used 115 grain, 124 grain, cheap hollow points like these. These are Ammo Inc. Hollow points. There's like $7.99 for a box of 20. They're super cheap, but it eats it, so I'm gonna keep using it. I've used AAC ammo, some Swedish stuff called Venom that was really, really cheap. It was like $13 for a box of 50. It ate that just fine. Federal flat nose 147 grain subsonics, AAC subsonics, pretty much just any kind of ammo, it'll eat it. The only thing it's picky about, like I said, is magazines. I have this one KCI mag. It was like $14.99. It's a stick like this. It sucks. I would not recommend using them at all. Grab it. Here it is here. I got this from Durkin Tactical. And yeah, this thing is garbage. When I shoot it, I'll have this thing fully loaded. I'll shoot it 2 or 3 times. Not even, actually. Usually after the first or second round, it will literally eject itself from the gun. It will just fall out the bottom of the gun. I won't have my hand on the mag release or anything. They're just garbage. Do not buy these. They're a waste of money. Yes, they're half price, but just spend the extra 20 bucks and get an OEM one, because this is shit. Same thing with these P-Mag Magpul mags. These are hit or miss. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. This one I've had work with one magazine full of ammo, and then the next mag it'll only fire 3 or 4 rounds and it'll not eject, or it won't feed or something like that. So I wouldn't count on these for self-defense. Maybe aftermarket or at the range or something like that. But yeah, just get OEM mags. I think after about 1,500 or 2,000 rounds, I'll probably come back here and do another update on it if I take it that far. I have about 300 or 400 rounds just sitting right now of 9mm. I usually try to keep a couple hundred rounds around so I can just go shoot whenever I feel like it. So I might go do that here soon. I'll try to take some video of that, I guess. But other than that, that's the P80 update. Thanks for watching.